opportunity to ask questions. So we just ask, when you do ask questions, just don't ask for an autograph or a hug or a recorded message. Don't ask anything we consider offensive to the audience. And try to ask your question in 1 minute or less so we get to as many questions as possible. I think we are about ready. Let's double check and see if we're ready to go here. Are we ready to go? All right, everybody, please give me a huge round of applause for Giancarlo! Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here. Tampa, go Tampa!
Every time I see you, doesn't he just look so handsome? It's amazing.
Making my day. Thank you.
Well, welcome to Tampa. Have you had a chance to go outside yet and feel the heat and all that?
From the car to the hotel door.
That's enough. That'll do it. That'll absolutely do
We're
it.
having some warm weather. It's a challenge that we have, but it wakes us up a little bit, or it puts us to sleep.
So, yeah. Well, you guys definitely won't be put to sleep here in this amazing panel. So we are going to jump into, go to answer some questions. So we'll jump right over here to our first question.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So it's no secret that you are one of the best villains in Hollywood, and I wanted to know, what are some of your techniques to come across so cold and calculated?
Well, I like what I do, and that's number one. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I pay close attention to a lot of the elements that are in between the lines that are written in the description of the character, and I try to bring a part of myself to it. So whereas I played enough different kinds of people that I could blend them together and think that I could use the same technique over and over again, I look at what I do, and it's an analogy for our lives too, to look at what we do as being different every day, because it's ever changing. But the one thing I do is I leave space to take in the energy of the room, to take in my own energy, and to be more defined about the space in between the words. Whether we know it or not, I think I feel as a human being awkward and uncomfortable in moments where I'm not quite sure of myself, or I don't know the next word I'm going to say. But there's real magic in that awkward and uncomfortable place, because it allows you to be real, spontaneous, and who you really are. In our society today, it's a long answer for your short question. Too bad. We are expected to have all the answers and to have them quickly. And that's the expectation that some of us have of each other, or that we have of ourselves. So we don't always allow time to be thoughtful. And I choose to be thoughtful in the work that I do. I choose to convey whatever the writer has written and whatever I can bring to it on top of that will render what I do organically real and truthful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love that. We do feel this pressure to be like so fast and have answers at all times. And I think that's great to be thoughtful at those moments. Excellent.
Well, you know, it's kind of a bummer when someone asks you a question and you go, I don't know. Right? I mean, that's how you feel, right? It's like a little bit of like the wind comes out of the balloon. I kind of love saying I don't know, because that allows me a space to say, let's find out together. Well, it's positive, it's a good thing, rather than BS our way through. Now, I'm an actor, so my job is to BS my way through, right? But I like to choose the other path of less resistance and just give it up and go, I can't answer that right now. Let me think about it. Ooh, there's some energy there, right?
Yeah.
Let me think about that a minute. It's kind of gives you a little room and space to grow.
All right, next question.
Hi, Fabio Blanco, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I knew from your work that you're a great actor. I knew that. But when I saw you before at the other convention, I got to know more about yourself and how you carry that energy. It just comes out and just like, it took the whole audience over. And that made me feel like, well, you're not just a great actor, but overall a great person. And so I was really impressed, and so I'm glad to see you again. I'm glad you came to see us.
Oh, thank you so much. What a great compliment. I think what I experience as I get more mature, I'm going to open myself up a little bit so I'm not giving all of you my back, is that we're energy. It's very simple. You know, we're men. My male body is between 70 and 90% water, but we're electrical beings. We're fired electrically. So energy is palpable. You can feel it. You can feel it in the room. You can feel it in the universe. You can feel it on the street. If you allow yourself to, if you're in tune to it. And so we're energetic beings. And that's how we flow. If you ever wonder why we need to have that, where is it? Oh yeah, right? That feels different now, right? That feels different. Why does it feel different? Is it because it's chirping and beeping and making noises and I have to look at it? Or is it that it's emanating an energy, right? So the reason we hold this in our hand is because we want a hit of energy, right? So if I put that over there, it's a little further away from me, which is why you're told not to sleep with your cell phone next to your bed, because it's emanating energy. It's pulling you, it's frequency, right? It's not giving you any rest. And so when you pick it up, you feel an energetic hit, which means for me, if I need to touch that phone, I have a low energy, right? I need to get some energy from something. It's the same thing when you're in a conversation with someone and you're talking to them and they're like, oh yeah, I twisted my ankle, oh yeah, this and that. And you realize 2 seconds into the interaction that your energy is getting lower, right? It's positive, negative, and you're feeling like, oh, I need to step back from this person because they're sucking my energy. So just realize the wave of energetic force and field is within each and every one of us, and it's real. So, you know, I want to be around people who raise my energy, especially if I'm low. I don't want to suck their energy to get mine raised. I want to be inspired and enthused by their personality, their being, so that I can go, wait a minute, I didn't even realize I was walking around in this low energy vibe until I was around him and his smile lifted me up and now I'm smiling too. That's how life works and that's how that's
I know that it was said before how you play a lot of darker characters. Do you think that in some of the darker characters you play, there's kind of a duality where you have an idea that there's still a good intention in what they're doing?
Oh, what a great question. My shift came in my work when I realized that human beings are intrinsically good. I realized that at a very young age. But I honor goodness on a certain day, or I fall into the trap of being low energy and down on another day. So I realized that I believe that humans are intrinsically good and want to be. So when I started to play characters who were really heavies or called villains, I realized that the anti-hero is simply a fallen hero. He probably had good intentions and no one wanted to hear his story. And so I realized, ooh, stop playing villainous roles that are one note. Be completely human, duh, right? And if you're completely human, then people will see both sides of your humanity and your non-humanity, and they might understand more about you. Now, it's really an interesting place to be vulnerable, right? Because to be vulnerable, I have to trust you. I have to tell you things about myself and trust that maybe, what are we afraid of? That you might judge me. What are we afraid of? That you might stamp me as being a certain kind of person. What are we afraid of? That you may not understand. What are we afraid of? That you may criticize me. So in order to be vulnerable, we have to trust that we're going to be taken a certain way. Well, guess not what? You're not. People aren't going to completely understand. But the act of being vulnerable allows you to be revelatory about who you really are. And guess what? That's an awkward and uncomfortable place to be at certain times. But it is illuminating. Why? Because no matter what you feel, or I can't control your judgment, I can't control your criticism. But it's a weight off you to be real and vulnerable. I wear 1,000 masks. That's my job. Right? Well, I tend to think that we all wear many, many masks. And when we're with our families of origins, we act a certain way because we were raised with a brother or a sister, and we have a certain dynamic that we immediately fall into because we're electrical beings. This is always how it's been. I've always been deferential to my brother. He was always over me. I always felt like not enough around him. So the comfortable place to be with him was to be subservient and just to be there and let him talk shit to me, excuse my language, right? And take it, right? I urge you to be self-investigating and to find your own power. Power is not power over. Power is power to illuminate who you are and understand who you are inside and what's really going on. You see, because life for each and every one of us is very specifically designed for us. Every moment, every encounter you have is a place of examination and growth or not, until next time. Right? So I get my buttons pushed 5 times a day. I go at 6:30 this morning in Raleigh to go to the Delta Lounge. They won't let me in! Well, you gotta be kidding me! I'm freaking platinum! You gotta be kidding me! No, they won't take my thing, and you have a card, you have this, and I'm like, okay. Oh, this is the moment to grow. I don't want to grow. I had 4 hours sleep. I'm tired. I gotta go to another con. Let me in! You! So this morning, I chose the path to grow. To look at it. To go, okay, that didn't happen. I'm going to go out and stand in the aisle and take 1,000 selfies, and I'm going to smile, and I'm going to feel good about it, and I'm going to figure this out later. Those are the moments. As opposed to going, do you know who I am? I deserve to be here. I paid my dues. Who cares? We're living in a world where airports for me, on the street, in public, it's the great equalizer. I get a chance to see who I really am. No, I don't want to take a goddamn selfie with you. But you know what? I will. Right? I mean, that's the test of life. That's what I chose. Really important here. I have the days they wouldn't allow me, they wouldn't let me. I didn't get a chance to. Right? You choose it. You choose it. You see it. You claim it. You envision it. You put into action what you want from your life. I've had people say, oh, it's easy for you, you're successful. Oh, it's easy for you, you have this, that, and the other. No, it's not easy for any of us. But if you take 10 minutes a day and visualize what you want today for your tomorrow, you will achieve it. Because the universe hears you. You're putting it out there in the world. You see what you want. You know it's going to come true. It may not come true tomorrow, the next moment, or another week. It may take time, but believe me, it will come true. Yeah.
All right.
Can I just say?
Yep, go ahead.
This question is about a little show that you act as a villain, Breaking Bad. What was a scene that you liked the most from the show?
How old are you?
10.
Don't answer that. Oh! Where are your parents? Oh! 401, a box cutter, which I hope you haven't seen. Don't answer that. It would be one of my favorite episodes for a lot of reasons. As an actor, I'm trained to act and to channel feelings, emotions, words, and to be a translator of what the writer has written. which is always my goal, to be truthful to the playwright, to be truthful to the screenwriter. My favorite was 401 Box Cutter because in the first 10 minutes of that episode, I had no words to say at all. And to me, to be able to use the tools that I've cultivated, not only people think acting is speaking, it's also walking, talking, it's taking on an attitude of someone else's being, of the character you've created, whether that be a template from someone who's living. I did a show called Godfather of Harlem where I play Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was a person who lived, so that took study and translating how his voice is and how he acted and being a different physicality. But my point is, in 401, I loved what I did because there were no words and all I could do was action. And that to me is a wonderful way to act because we read each other in our lives. We read our people's physical faces, their gestures, and we know when someone wants to talk or is receptive or not. And some of us are better at picking up social cues than others. But it's always a wonderful thing for me to be observing of human beings because that's my work. And so I'm very good at picking up social cues most of the time. And I can look at people and say, I see you. Because I've also been someone who's been hiding. So if you're someone who has hidden, you can see those who are still hiding. And not so easy for me to, in many ways, come out of that cave to allow people to know who I really am. Simple example is I've done a lot of Comic-Cons and I come up on stage and people are enamored with Gustavo Fring, so I sit here and I don't say much. And I do my Gustavo Fring act. Because my fear is that if you see who I really am, you may be totally surprised and not like me. Because you think of me as Gustavo. But guess what? I am not Gustavo. And it's okay for me not to be him. And it's okay for me to feel like, oh, some people might be disappointed in that. You have something I want. Thank you, young man. That something is the freedom to be who I really am without worrying about it. People say to me, oh, I thought you were taller. Oh, I thought I've never seen you smile. How can you be so funny? How can you do this or how can you do that? But that's the vulnerability of revealing who you really are. So what I urge, for me, my urge for everyone is to step into your own power in that way. And don't be afraid to show others who you really are. And don't be afraid also to be able to share that with your families of origin. When I looked at my second daughter and I said, I want to have a different relationship with you because she's a little angel and speaks softly. Papa, you can't talk to me that way. I talk to her like this, and I'm passionate, excited. She thinks I'm angry. And I had to tell her I'm not angry. I'm just a passionate dude. You scare me. I don't mean, so once we got all that straightened out, I could then say to her, I don't want to walk on eggshells. I want to be my passionate and excited self. But I don't want you to be threatened by that. It's cool, they just so speak up. And now, it's a different relationship. That's what I'm urging myself to do from my training, right? We get trained up in life. We get trained up by advertising. We get trained up by what people, I can't go out looking like this because people will say something about me. Why don't you do what you feel in your heart? Let's get trained up by, I want to do what feels right for me. Let's get trained up by that, as opposed to trained up by how I should be. It's important because it will allow us to be who we really are.
Could you imagine, though, you talking about your daughter, I just would love to see that, like a young man comes to pick up your daughter for a date and you're there, like that'd be pure nightmare fuel. Can you imagine that going to pick up, like every bad guy is like, what are you doing here? So.
I've had that. My eldest daughter, who just got engaged, And in a beautiful way. It's really great. I'm really happy for Shane. When she was dating a guy, and I said, "Who are you dating?" She said, "Oh, he's really nervous to meet you." and she was a high school soccer champion. And finally, when I did meet him, I get out of the car, and this dude is 6'2". Irish boy, 6'2", beautiful face, and I just looked at him and I gave him the gusto. And he melted. He went from 6'2" to 4'11". And I had him. You'd be good to my daughter.
All right, go ahead.
So, what was it like filming the Gustavo death scene in Breaking Bad?
It was arduous. It was interesting and fun, but I had to sit for 4.5 hours to get the prosthetics on my face. I was working with a master. If you ever want to learn something about things that you don't know, it's a clue as to how to live a great life is to be inquisitive and learn about things you don't know. I was working with Howard Berger, who did Narnia. He won the Academy Award for that. He is a master. And so he took 4.5 hours in a trailer, sitting still without moving to do my face. So that is kind of boring, difficult not to move. I think I got up to go to the bathroom one time. Very arduous process. And then having to act through all of that that's plastered on your face is also interesting. But it was odd because it was my last episode, and everyone again, there's that, oh, it's not there anymore. Oh yeah, it's over there. How about that? Good. Everyone had that little machine called the iPhone. And so as soon as I walked out of the trailer, the crew and people were taking photos. Of course, they signed non-disclosures. But all of a sudden, I was, as oftentimes I feel sometimes, I was a spectacle. Like, I can imagine how people felt with, like, disfigured heads and two heads or one eyeball over here in 1899 at a circus, right? Like, I can imagine how that feels because I get that feeling a lot. And that's how I felt on the set. It was weird. So I had to get beyond that. Just being away with my 4 daughters on vacation, they're 2 feet behind me because I walk kind of fast through an airport, and they hear all the reactions. Oh my God, a little bit. They hear all the tia that comes after I go by. And so it's funny because they say, "Papa, this has gotten crazy. You're gonna need someone to walk with you. You need a bodyguard. You need this," or they'll tell me 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, sneaking a picture, sneaking a video. They're like, they get a little freaked out by it. But so it was interesting. Once I got beyond that, and on the set, I felt really great because it was 2 parts. Obviously, first part without the prosthetic, stop shooting. They shot something else, 4 hours of makeup, come back and doing the last scene. What I loved about it was Vince Gilligan is such a collaborator. And as you know, for those of you who don't, spoiler alert, when that explosion happens, I come back out into the hall. And Vince had already asked me what I might be doing if there was an explosion, hypothetically. And I said, well, you notice what I do. I'm very proper. I get up. Oftentimes I fix my tie because it slides down on a necktie. Or I stand up and I button my jacket. And I said, I'll put my tie up and make sure I'm really straight, and high and tight. And he went, oh, he loved that idea, and he eventually wrote that in out of our conversation. But the scene wasn't working because he had a couple of nurses and an aide in the hall who were supposed to come all the way up to me. And they had lines, and they were extras. And he just didn't feel like they were hitting the right moment. They were hitting the right feeling that he wanted. So he came to me and he said, well, what do you think I should do? And I was really honored. And I looked at him and I looked down the hallway and I went, oh, you shouldn't have them come all the way up to me. Have them on their way. They come halfway down the hall. You can still hear the little dialogue in the background if you want, but they never get all the way to Gus before he falls. And Vince loved it and we had the scene.
Thank you very much.
Hey, go ahead.
Good evening. I was wondering what made you start acting?
My mother was an opera singer, and my mother and father, after 11 years of marriage, were getting divorced. And I was 8 years old. And by the time I was 8 and a half, we were struggling. You know, my mom was on welfare. We were all on welfare. I was eating Franks and beans, and we didn't have a roof over our head. We were staying in literally different motels, trying to find a house. It was just really a drag and a hard time. And I looked at my mother and my brother as well, and said maybe we could help out, because she had been an opera singer. I was exposed to being creative, and I went to an audition for an agent in New York, and sang Happy Birthday for a show called Maggie Flynn, a Broadway show, and I got in. And we were off on the road, didn't need to buy a house yet because we were on the road to a pre-Broadway tour, plays, musicals, go out of town to Boston, to Detroit, and different places before coming back to New York and opening. And that was my start. It was really out of necessity, and I fell in love with it and kept going. My brother did a couple of plays and musicals, and then he dropped out and became a violinist and did other things. But I knew that I was in it for life.
Next question.
Hi.
Hey there.
So I know throughout your acting career you choose more traditionally antagonistic or villainous roles. Have you ever felt compelled to do a more heroic or protagonist role, or have you always known this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm gonna do?
Oh no, you know, I know that many of you know me from the powerful villainous roles, but I'm really a sweetheart. And I urge a lot of you with younger people in the room to see a film I did a few years ago called Stargirl. It's based on a book by Jerry Spinelli. And I play a paleontologist who is a counselor to these younger students. And that's a really good guy role. Or Maze Runner, Jorge. You know, you think he's bad, but he's not. He's really good. So I have played, in my own defense, I played some good guys. I don't choose to play anyone who's bad. 'Cause again, I don't think that people are. I think we struggle with our internal demons. So I've never, and still not to this day, decided that I'm good at playing, you know, villainous characters. I don't think that way at all. But it's a great question to ask, because I think differently. I look for a good role, but before I even look for the good role, I look for a really good project, right? So what is it saying overall? The whole reason I did Breaking Bad was because at that time, there was a scourge of crystal meth across many of our states in America. And I read this piece, and I wasn't familiar with the show, and I was determined, even though I chose to play the role of Gus Fring, which is what they asked me to do, I wanted to be a part of the show for one reason, because I felt like people needed to know. Like people needed to know. And it was important. And so for me, that was my whole reason for entering that world. It wasn't for my own self-aggrandizement. We are in service. I'm in service to my craft. It's like a meditation or a prayer. But we in our lives are in service. We should first be in service to cultivating our interior of who we are, which means to learn how to love ourselves. We are then in service to each other, to our families first. And then we're in service to the world. So for me, part of what I do and why I'm here is to be here in this Q&A, to share who I really am beyond the mask with all of you. You can come to my table, I can give you my Gus impression, I can give you my Moff Gideon, but when do I have the opportunity to be this person that I really am for you to see? And that's my strength. My strength is to empower, to uplift. My strength is to allow you to know that you have all that's inside you that you need to know to achieve all of your dreams. Because of my story of coming from basically nothing to what is perceived to be something, right? Because everyone knows me. Yeah, somebody. Yeah, but it's perceived. And, okay, I'm good at what I do. I know that. I claim that. I earned it. I continue to cultivate it, right? So that's my connection to life. I've been given a gift. I've cultivated that gift. And it pays off because I'm able to keep doing it even more. It comes with all that other stuff I gotta deal with, and I have to deal with my own ego. That's stuff too. But the juice for me is that I love what I do. And can you imagine? I'm the happiest man in the world because I realize that's why I'm here. I also realize that that's a platform for this voice to say to each and every one of you, you're original, you're absolutely special, you deserve to be loved, you deserve to be successful, you are absolutely beautiful, and you have the power to change the world.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi,
Hi there.
This has been wonderful. This is another villain question, sorry. But being typecasted as all these villains and working so close with these evil characters, and also being perceived as them, have you felt that affect your own persona or your personality in your personal life at all? Not so much being recognized as Gus in the streets, but just your everyday life.
Oh, my struggle has been so long. It's been a long and winding road. I think of immediately, as soon as you say that, I think of going to an audition and sitting down for a commercial 40 years ago. And I look in the room and there's all, young men who are all white. And I thought, well, something could be wrong here, but I'm kind of an open person. I'm half Italian, half black. Many of you may not even know that. My name is Giancarlo Esposito. And so a person comes out of the office and says, did you sign in? And I said, yes. Well, what's your name? I said, Giancarlo Esposito. Oh. Well, we're so sorry. We thought, I said, you thought I was white? And they said, yeah. Oops. I've had a lot of experiences like that, and I said, well, why can't I audition anyway? Ooh, put them on the spot. Well, the advertising company and the people who wrote it, they never thought of it, blah, 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 blah. They give you 1,000 reasons. And that helped me to understand that to be a part of an unconventional casting system, to get something because of meritocracy, because I was the best, no matter what color I am. So to defend myself for having a white father and a black mother, all of those things. Yeah, that's been my journey, It's like I have to work through that resentment because is it or isn't it? Is it or isn't it? Like after a while I went, screw it, Like I'm a human being and I'm not gonna carry that load anymore. I'm dealing with now with a daughter who is like the same skin tone as I am. I have 4 daughters, many of them range from the same mother, an Irish woman, different skin tones, right? My darkest one just graduated from Middlebury in January, worked at the college. She graduated magna cum laude, top of her class, the highest you could go. And so she's been raised in a society of I believe, with people asking her, what are you? How did you get here? How are you so smart? Well, all these questions because of the color of her skin. And now she's finished and out. But she's got a complex. She's got a complex. She's claimed a complex. She's angry, right? And so little by little, I'm trying to figure out, how do I talk to her? How do I break down that wall? How do I allow her to know not to have the resentment? Because 5 times a day, different white people ask her who she is, how she got here, why she's so pretty. She looks like an Egyptian queen, all these things. But that's her journey, right? Like we claim what we need, even if it's difficult for us. Like we needed that. I need to not take responsibility for that, because I'm not ready yet. I'm not quite there yet to step into who I really am. I need to hold you responsible. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff in our world that just isn't just or right or real. I could go through 20 million stories about me and the pain I feel from 9 years old onward. Not only from white people, but from black people too. I was in the church with my mother, who was an organist, and the black women would come over and went, "Oh my God, he got that good hair. Look at his eyelashes. Look at that straight hair. Oh, he's so cute." You know, so it's a spiritual growth to be able to get through this life completely responsible for who we are, acknowledging the challenges, acknowledging that all is not right with the world, but not holding it against the world, right? And using, because that takes what? What does it take? That takes energy. And the energy you give that takes away from another energy where you can be uplifting each other and uplifting yourself.
So good. Next question.
Alright, howdy. So again, you've been casted as all of these iconic antagonists, but if you could swap places with, one of the rival protagonists of one of the projects you've been in, who would you choose?
Oh my gosh, well, the early Star Wars movies really were great for me. And when Jon Favreau called me about Mandalorian, I was really honored. I was like, what is a Mandalorian? He was like, he had explained it to me. He said, I wrote this role for you. In that instance, I love Luke Skywalker. I love heroic roles because I feel like inside of me, I've been my own hero. Right? Be your own hero. Lift yourself up and be your own hero. So I've been that for me. And so I have some projects I'm developing. If you're in the business and you want to be an actor or want to be in what I do, write. Write your story. Tell your story. If you're a writer, write your book. Don't let anything stop you. Share it with the world. Now more than ever, we have access to be able to have people identify. And it's not only about your own success, it's about sharing something that someone else can identify with. And really sort of take less steps to get where they need to go because they heard your story and they heard your advice. So I'm developing a couple of projects for myself that I feel are really great. One is a 1940s movie by Robert Wise that starred Robert Ryan called The Setup about an over-the-hill boxer. It's about an everyman. I have a show called Parish coming out on AMC, also a story about an everyman. Because all of a sudden I realized in the last 2 years with COVID and with the downturn of our economy and the very big problem of our world in terms of its environment, that I want to represent people who are everyday people. Because I feel like everyday people need to hear that they're heroes, that they're champions, and they're not represented enough. We look at film and television and we put people on pedestals and we want to be like them, and they're either violent or vampires or this, that, the other. Entertainment's great, don't get me wrong. But what about people who are in service day in and day out, who do it because they love what they do? What about those people who aren't able to make ends meet, who are struggling and working 2 or 3 jobs for their families, who are doing sacrifices for themselves so that their people can make it? So I'm working on projects that reflect a more every woman, every man aspect of our society, so that I'm at least able to honor and champion all of who we are.
Oh, looks like we got some bad product.
You are not a god. You are simply bad product.
Alright.
You look great.
So my question was, if you could go on a date with one character from the Breaking Bad universe, who would you go with?
Breaking Bad universe? Oh my gosh. It would have to be Kim Wexler. I adore Ray Seahorn. She's been nominated for an Emmy this year and a few other awards. She's not only a great actress, but a great director and a really, really wonderful human being. I had the opportunity in episode 606 to direct her, and it was a great highlight of my final season with Saul, and I just find her absolutely an original, and she's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Hi,
wanted to say it was a really nice surprise when I recognized your voice as Faraday in Cyberpunk Edgerunners. I was just wondering if there was more to your voice acting career, if you were going to start more anime, and if not, what do you like to do in your leisure time? Gaming, anime, something like that?
Well, there is more to my voice acting career. I've done Batman. I've done more than you probably have heard or realized. And I enjoyed Cyberpunk. It was a challenge because it came to me completely in Japanese. And what I love about what I do is it exposes me to a lot of different cultures, a lot of different attitudes, and a lot of different schools of thought, not only in language, but also in attitude. And so, yes, I will continue to cultivate my voice acting career, which started probably before I became a really known actor. I used to work for, well, I'm going to date myself now, for a company called RKO, way back when I was a kid. And in my spare time, I'm a motorcycle enthusiast who hasn't ridden in over a year, but I still try to buy a bike every year. I got a new one coming right now, with the expectation and hope and time of being able to ride it. I kind of like style. I'm a saver for good, trying to get out of that too. Like, if I buy something, wear it right away. Look good now.
How much is that outfit you're wearing right now?
Oh, this is Prada, which is so. It's so not like me. No, I'm really serious. I have a 24-year-old daughter. I went to Prada for the first time last year, and my daughter was shocked. She was like, "Papa, you went to Prada?" I share an apartment with one of my daughters in New York, and I said, "Yeah, I think I'm kind of hooked." And she said, "Wow." So this is a Prada top. There's shorts to go with them, but I didn't like the way they fit around my waist, so I burned them. And the shirt is Zania, and the pants are Zania. Okay, what else? What you got?
I just want to say I'm picky with my shorts too.
You talked earlier about things training us in our lives, both includes good and bad. Some of the good things can include, parents. It can include teachers. I'm curious if that ever involved psychotherapy for you.
Yeah, any good therapist in the house, I need one. I love it. I've had a therapist, and that did help me to begin to look at myself. Being a parent has been a challenge. I have 4 daughters, and they are women now, all from 19 to 26, and I thought my road was tough. I'm like, raising these girls, I realized, oh man, I think I went through something. They get their image through me, through their father, and they get their approval from others. And I think 3 of them, I would have said 4, but now she seems to have a good man. 3 of them, they just choose all the wrong men. and they're looking for validation. And I learned, they go, "Papa, but you don't understand." And I go, "You know what? I don't give up." That's because I'm more mature. I'm over it. I'm over me. I'm over it all. I'm like, I'm gonna be myself because that's what I choose. But for young people, that validation that comes from family and outside of themselves is so important. So I find kind words to say. I don't want to say to my daughter, "You're beautiful." They're all beautiful. "You're beautiful," because that's so on the surface. I want to say what you do is beautiful. Your artwork that you create is beautiful. Your inside is beautiful. The way you treat people is beautiful. It's so important. So yes, I'm currently looking for a therapist in one place because I travel so much. But I have friends a few friends I can talk to, and mainly my children, because I encourage them to stand up to me, right? I was bullied when I was young. What do you do when you're bullied? How do you protect yourself? You become a bully, right? Like you know, it's like because you're in this mode. And so, because I'm so open with my daughters, I'm like, call me on stuff. And I've grown so much. You know, my second daughter looked at me 5 years ago and said, "You're just a bully." And I really had to, I just listened. Yeah, because I bully people on TV, of course. I practiced being a bully. I was a bully to begin with. And then you let go of being a bully. You go, oh, because I want to have a different relationship with the world. Right? Why are bullies bullies? Because they're resentful about something that happened to them. Because they feel powerless. And they want to have power over something. Now, I've come to a maturity in my life where I can do all that on screen. I get it all out there, man.
All right, we have time, guys. This is our last question right here. Last question.
So, when are you going to play a character like you did in Do the Right Thing? Because everybody knows you as Gus, that one scary guy from Breaking Bad, Moff Gideon from Mando and stuff like that. So, I just want you to show like people like your range. Like, you're more than this one note character. You can do more than that.
Absolutely, I welcome all different kinds of roles, and I did love Do the Right Thing. And how old are you?
19.
I'll recommend some movies you can see where you'll see a variety of my range, and hopefully with the things I produce, you'll see even more range. Okay, let's do. Come on.
Yeah. All right. Steven.
Hi. I was wondering. So you're known for a lot of live action roles. There are two video game roles. I know Anthony Castillo from Far Cry 6. I didn't play it. But I know you from the Dentist from Payday 2. How is that different from like your usual like just acting and?
It was my first time doing a game. I didn't have to get. Well, Far Cry was really difficult because it was mocap in a suit, in a helmet with a camera on my face, and lights and all that stuff. So they created that character from actually shooting me in a room that was a complete mocap room. Payday was my first foray into that. Look, I had to walk in and be in a guy's mouth and be kind of vicious. So it was fun and easy. I loved it. I would love to do more gaming work that is not surrounding the gun. Like gaming is surrounding. I really had a hard time saying yes to Far Cry because many games, Mortal Kombat, all that surrounds the gun, and we're obsessed with the gun. And I don't want to be in that world. I do want to play an action guy who does something for good in a real action movie. But I don't want to be a part of the gaming world that just has people sit there and shoot each other, and that's dangerous. That gets into our psyche. So thank you.
Okay, final question.
I'm so glad I'm last because I have no idea how this is going to go. So, you mentioned something about your own daughter's sort of complex given the experiences she's gone through. And what I was thinking about is how I have this complex because when I was younger, I thought, I feel like I have things to put into the world. I feel like I have talent. I feel like what I'm looking at is magical and I want to be part of it. But because my family and the people around me never recognized it or they denied it and shut it down, it's kind of a thing for me now to just like accept that that's possible for me and that's what I really am, because if you're a child, you have to have your parents recognize things so that you know it's true or that it exists. And I didn't really have that. So starting in acting and dancing later than everybody else, it's just a little bit difficult. And I went through a difficult experience recently, just doing like a scene in a
Come
scene
closer to
study.
the mic. We
I'm
want to hear
sorry.
you.
I was doing a scene study recently, and there was a director part of it viewing it, and it was like the week before, teacher had been like, "You've had your breakthrough. You're a true actor. I'm so proud of you." The next week, go to do the scene, and this guest director was just, everyone was just like, mediocre. Well, why didn't you do this? Well, you need to trust your actor more. I do that. Well, why were you gesturing so much? And it was just the fact that everyone was safe and I got nitpicked on, And I'm already standing in this place of being like, well, can I do this? Am I this? Can I do this? Because that's what I've always been struggling with. It kind of messed me up a little bit. So, given that this is an altar call, I felt like I should actually ask you what you think I should do to get my mind back on track where I should be, to keep doing what I want.
First of all, thank you for your courage to share with us your vulnerability surrounding your experience. Acting is very particular. Like, I could be good today and bad tomorrow, and that's just what it is. I like to do my worst acting school of acting in scene study, because that's real. I like to gesture over. I'm Italian. I gesticulate. This is what I do. Do I do this on camera? No. I sit on my hands. Right. So you do exercises that allow you to face what is your particular what you over articulate. And yeah, it's hard. So your ego is crushed because you keep thinking about people asking you questions about. Look, I don't like criticism, but criticism is real. And again, you have to trust. I gotta trust him when I go back there. Was I okay? Well, Giancarlo, you were a little long-winded today. Or Giancarlo, that other story didn't work. I mean, that's real. I asked, you told. You were real. But you know what your answer is. You know if you want to do this. You know that part of maybe what has to happen is you have to develop a thicker skin. You know what works. When I teach classes, I always start from, this is what worked. Your vulnerability, your courage, your directness, your vocality. And then I go to, maybe you could do this or do that. But you start with, and in life, we want to be uplifted, so you want to share first what works. Your smile works. Your eyes work. Your courageousness to stand here and share yourself works. The question works. Whether or not I should do this or not. The answer is do it if you love it. Doesn't matter what it pays. Doesn't matter if it's going to make you a star. If it makes you happy, then you must. So investigate that. Stick with it. Stay in that space. Because that is what really works. That's what we want to see. And again, study and practice makes perfect, although nothing is perfect. We're all already perfect. So we start with that. But when you start with yourself and embrace yourself like you are now, embrace yourself into what really works about who you are. You can't act without you. You can put on a mask, but what we really want to see is you. What is original about you that allow you to be different than anyone else? How do you interpret the material is different than anyone else is going to interpret that material. Make choices, just like in life. It's a choice to be happy. It's a choice to investigate who you are. It's a choice to be in service. It's a choice to be inspired. It's a choice to say, I am, I will, I can. Yes, please